Hello, welcome to the Hard Carry. I'm your host Adam Fitch. As always with this series, I'm going to go through what's happened in the past week when it comes to the esports industry, specifically on the business side, explain the main points and why they matter, or perhaps why they don't matter at all, but they're noteworthy, So, wasting no time as always, try to keep this short and sweet. Team Reciprocity has entered a letter of intent with Rainy Hollow Ventures that will, if successful, see it be publicly listed through a reverse takeover. So, dated February 26th, the letter of intent will see Rainy Hollow Ventures acquire all issued and outstanding securities of Team Reciprocity, which will then result in the reverse takeover. So, in this instance, Rainy Hollow Ventures is the public company, Team Reciprocity is private, and through the deal, should it be executed and terms are agreed upon, Team Reciprocity would be listed. Now, I believe that it would be listed through the TSX Venture Exchange, which is a stock exchange in Canada. So, it's hard to know just yet whether it's going to happen or not, but at least when they're announced publicly as such like this, in esports, at least we've seen these things happen. So there are not many public organisations at all in esports at the moment. I think Astralis Group is probably the most notable, and they've just released their financial report for 2017, and it doesn't look too positive on the surface. But nonetheless, and they managed to actually fulfil what they were looking for in their IPO, on the Nasdaq. So this is just it's something I can't say whether it's good or not. We don't have a clue. I know Team Reciprocity is of decent size. It's certainly not considered a tier 1 organisation by any means, by any sort of metric really. It was in Call of Duty and did okay there, but never did too great. Same with Gears of War and such, So I don't know. I don't think it's a huge deal as if, say, like TSM or Team Liquid or something, were to go public, which obviously very unlikely at this point, but if an organisation of that stature decided to kind of go into a letter of intent, enter into a letter of intent for this purpose, it would be talked about a lot. Whereas I actually think Esports Insider was the only publication to report on this, and that was because I did it, I wrote this myself. I can't see any other coverage of it. So people don't really care, or they're waiting until a definitive agreement is entered, which it is the plan, obviously. It's said in the press release itself. The only thing is the transaction at this point is far from a done deal. Like, you've got to work shit out, There's a press release out there that has all the financials, all the details in there in terms of, well, just everything related to the deal. And I'm not going to go through it all, as I do try to keep this short, and I'm not by any means like a self-proclaimed expert in terms of investment and takeovers and how companies are structured, though I am working on that 100%, and I could try and do a deep dive on this in the future, as I do think it deserves a bit more discussion around it than what it's currently receiving, hence why I've opened up this episode of the Hard Carry with this story. So what we'll do is we'll shift on to Hitmarker. So a jobs platform, used to be an esports jobs platform, now covers the wider games industry. That is part of what I'm going to talk about here. So, UK-based company, run by brothers Phil and Rich Huggan. Lovely gentlemen, met them and spoken to them a shit ton. Just great guys, They built up a full-time workforce of 5 people over the course of maybe 18 months or 2 years. And then, I can't think how long, I can't think if it was just before 2020 or just into 2020. A lot goes on in esports. It moves so quick, It's like a week in esports feels like a month. So, but nonetheless, they raised 200k in crowdfunding when they were actually looking for 80k. And as part of that, they're looking to expand significantly, get a grasp on gaming as a whole instead of just esports, because it is admittedly quite a small market, even though they were posting up a shit ton of jobs and doing it better than Rect, doing it better than what TO have before. Indeed, just absolutely smashing it out of the park. So they've now got, as far as I can see, 9 staff members. I think the plan is 10. Perhaps there is 10. There's just one person missing in the photo that they provided to us for the story. The result of the expansion will be 5 times as many job listings. That's what's expected, at least now that they're covering the wider video game industry, which is obviously a huge fucking market, absolutely huge. So, in one hand, it'll be harder to find esports stuff unless the filtering's really there, but these folks are really considerate. So I imagine they're not going to just forget their roots and forget esports exists. Now they've got a taste of the wider market, So it's also changed its domain from hitmarkerjobs.com to hitmarker.net, which I think is a good move. I don't think it's going to be pivotal in anything, but they've also redesigned the website, and from what I can see, I'm not looking for a job at the moment, so I haven't used it extensively, but I had a look around quickly, and it seems like they've thought about it a lot, and it looks really professional. It looks great, and I mean, I knew these guys would put the money to good use, and they're doing just that by the looks of things. And there was a second story that came out not long after they announced that the kind of almost bit of a rebrand and the refocusing of their offering was right. You're gonna have to bear with me on probably the butchering of the pronunciation here, but Vagas BR, I think it is Vagas, Vaggas BR, which is Brazil. So Vagas, a Brazilian esports job platform. Now, Hitmarker has established a partnership with this platform, which will see the addition of Portuguese and Spanish language jobs to Hitmarker's platform with Vagas. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I really hope I am, but I'm an ignorant English person. That company there, that platform will have exclusive rights to promote those jobs, so the Portuguese and Spanish language jobs, across its social media channels. So a fucking huge opportunity there to enter into new markets and absolutely smash it while using kind of organic, natural platforms that already exist for that market, and expanding out that way. It seems better than just, I don't know, like trying to cover those markets and that market specifically, I guess, with just one person concentrating on it. Like they're English folk as well. So I mean, having people on board, or at least being in a partnership with people who know that market inside and out and already been serving it, it seems like a great move. And I'm very impressed with Hitmarker. Besides the fact that I'm friends with a lot of them there, like genuinely, like they are good people. But I can remove that and just look at the facts and look at what they've done and look at how they've grown and how transparent they've been and how relentless they've been. And I know from behind the scenes that they've been very restrained in terms of like what they pay themselves, just to make sure that this is a viable opportunity for everyone on board. It's a lot of sacrifice, a shit ton of hard work, and I mean, they deserved the crowdfunding. They deserved the support from the community that they served for probably a couple of years. And just seeing them do things in such a way like this, it's just incredible. And I know there's 2 or 3 more announcements to come in the next month or so. So no doubt you'll likely see Hitmarker on the hard carry again, to be completely honest with you. As long as they keep making moves, I'll keep covering it because it's significant. Like, no one is aggregating and bringing together all of the opportunities that are in esports and gaming like Hitmarker is. No way on hell, and I can't see anyone stepping in and doing any better of a job, or even like a half a good as job, So definitely, if you're looking for a job in esports, I'd recommend Hitmarker. If you're looking for a job in gaming, I assume Hitmarker will become as proficient as it is in esports as it is in gaming over time. It's just got to figure out where everything is. It may have already done it, who knows? So definitely check out hitmarker.net if you're looking for an opportunity, because I know a lot of people are, and I get a lot of messages with people saying, where do I find opportunities? There you go. Hitmarker Jobs on Twitter, hitmarker.net on the Tinternet. Go, have a look. It's some incredible stuff, and I'm very, very impressed on a unbiased, genuine level. So moving to Hurrah, the Paris-based creative advertising agency that basically specifically works in gaming and esports. So it's launched its own production house, and what I find perhaps most interesting here is that it's the production house is fronted by Varick Loyer, which is a former producer for Louis Vuitton. Now Louis Vuitton, obviously quite notably at this time, partnered with Riot Games last year for the World Championship, the League of Legends World Championship, and many people responded very positively towards it, though the price points for the eventual clothing line that they released were quite high. But I mean, that's Louis Vuitton for you. It's targeting the people who can afford that stuff. While I don't know that the intersection of esports and luxury is too big in terms of pricing and such, because I don't know, at this point esports, the demographic is rather young, and a lot of young people are either in education, in school, or trying to work shit out, and not in like the peak of their career money wise. But it sold out as far as I'm aware, and was received quite well. So bringing Varick in, who was he worked directly on the partnership between Riot Games and Louis, so you have to give him some credence. I'm not saying he's the one who identified that advertising or using the World Championship to kind of advertise Louis Vuitton. I'm not saying he's the one who like spearheaded that and pioneered that as such, but I mean, being part of it is interesting. And I think his quote as to his new venture, why he joined Hurrah and decided to lead this production house, is quite telling. So I'll read that out quickly. Working on the League of Legends partnership between Louis Vuitton and Riot Games was a eureka moment for me. It opened my eyes to the value that experts from luxury and esports could bring to the table for mutual benefit. Now is the best time to bring mainstream advertising storytelling strengths into esports as entertainment standards rise. We want to make the kind of qualitative content we know fans want and deserve. Okay, that's banging. Hurrah already has worked with like Domino's, Coca-Cola, Nestle, Renault, and such. You know, it's also worked with Mogul, which is an esports platform, to create promotional material, and they've done a good job. So hurrah.studio will operate under Hurrah Group as an independent company from Hurrah, which is the agency. So this could be a fucking huge thing, genuinely. If they I don't know, if they have the pedigree with the new hire of Varick and manage to spearhead more moves like we saw between Louis and Riot, then you never know what the fuck could happen. I mean, we need to see what actually comes from the production house first before we really judge it. But I mean, I've got a lot of faith in Hurrah as an agency, and I'm really interested to see what Varick Loyer can do with the company. You know, it's one I think we should keep an eye on. It's also a story that hasn't been covered too widely, but I think this is kind of like a hidden gem in the news cycle for the past week. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on, at least. Shit, it could be absolute shit. Like I was going to say, shit could be shit. You know, like the things they produce could be awful, but I really doubt it. It's just one to keep an eye on for now, which tends to be a similar kind of thread between a lot of the stories I talk about on here. It's kind of like, right, we'll see how that goes in the future. But I will loop back if we see any results from any things that I've reported on here. You know, it's just there's a lot in the works in esports. There's a lot of promise there, according to people, and that's why they're investing and such. And we will see those things realised, for better or for worse. And I will indeed keep up with them. But it's worth highlighting these things, in my opinion. So we'll go into the final story that I'm going to cover. I'd say the past week there was plenty of news. There was nothing that like screamed out like, oh my god, this is groundbreaking for the industry as a whole. You know, like Hitmarker, really good deal there, but I don't know. It's not like HLTV being acquired for 34.5 million euros, for example. You know, it's not like headline material almost. But we'll go into the last one, which I think is quite notable. So TSM has partnered with Entity Gaming, which is an Indian esports organization, to enter PUBG Mobile with an Indian team. So this is basically TSM entering the Indian market. I'm not aware of the organisation, which is traditionally North American, operating within India before this. So we've got like the likes of Fnatic and FaZe and such operating in Asia, and with PUBG Mobile and Rainbow Six Fnatic. You know, got the Rainbow Six team as a FaZe Clan. I'm not sure if FaZe Clan have got PUBG Mobile, but I know Fnatic has, and I can see a rivalry kind of brewing there. Space Station Gaming's also doing an incredible job in kind of regionalising itself in multiple areas and finding these hidden gems and investing into it. So what we'll do is we'll concentrate on TSM for now. So TSM Entity is the team that has been birthed out of the partnership. Entity Gaming will manage the team and the operations for it, basically. And then TSM will provide its knowledge of esports in Europe and North America to help the venture grow tremendously. That's quoted from the press release. They've obviously got a lot of faith in this. There is an opportunity there if you come across it in an organic way, in a way that actually seems like it fits, which why I think partnering with Entity Gaming is a good way of doing that, because they already had this team. You know, they know how India receives esports and how it kind of how esports operates out there, you know. So having that experience on board to manage the team and such is a good thing. As long as TSM doesn't just slap its name on this team and that's it. As long as some decent promotion on the relevant channels and such, and as I say, in a way that doesn't feel like forced or you know just like I don't know. I just hope that it's done in the right way. Right, you can enter a market and try and do what you've been doing in America and try and do that in India, and it just doesn't translate well at all, you know. So I'm looking to that to be it's an interesting nugget, at least, you know. Expanding into markets that aren't as big but have potential, especially on different titles and such. Like mobile is huge in India, but it's not quite in North America and Europe yet. You know, people thought it would. The COD Mobile, for example, would be the driving force for mobile in the West, but it's not happened. So we're still waiting for that moment. So if you believe in mobile, then it's probably not really a better place to go than PUBG Mobile in India, you know. So yeah, I'd say that's everything I'm going to cover this week. I'm sure every single week we'll have a bunch of things we can discuss. So if you want to get the relevant information from each week in terms of business in esports, then the Hard Carry is probably the show for you. Alternatively, you can go visit esportsinsider.com. I'm the editor of that publication, for full disclosure there. So yes, I am plugging it, and that's only because I'm proud of what we're doing. I think we're the leading publication in the space now. I think in the past couple of weeks, and this will continue, we've been dominating. And the coverage we've put out has been unrivaled by anyone. So there you go. You've got the Fitch stamp of approval on ESI, and you should have, considering I work there, you know. But yeah, subscribe if you want to, follow if you want to. It's all good if not. But I appreciate those that come back every week. I hope you continue to do so. If there's any way I can improve this series or provide more value to you, then of course let me know on Twitter and YouTube comments. Email me. I don't mind. Go to my website and pick however you want to get in touch. You know, let's discuss, because I want this to be the show you go to. You know, so anything I need to do to make it to position myself in that way, then I will do it. So yeah, thank you for watching or listening. I will catch you next Saturday when I can speak, on the next episode of The Hard Carry. Cheers for tuning in.